The first time I noticed the transfer, I didn't think much of it. It was just a small amount of money sent to a name I didn't recognize, Eva Sanders. When I asked my husband, Daniel, he smiled softly and said, "She's my sister, Maria. She's been struggling since her husband left her. I help her out every month." His tone was filled with warmth, even pride, and I felt a pang of guilt for asking. I'd always admired Daniel for his big heart, his ability to care for others, even when we didn't have much ourselves. We weren't rich, but we lived comfortably enough, or so I thought. Months passed, and those small amounts grew. First 50, then 100, then $300 each month. Sometimes Daniel would come home looking exhausted, muttering about taking extra shifts just to make sure Eva didn't miss rent. "Can't she find a job?" I asked once, my voice gentle, trying not to sound judgmental. She's trying," he replied quickly, not meeting my eyes. "She's had a rough time." You wouldn't understand. That last sentence stung. We had been married for 8 years, and I had always stood by him through everything, through job changes, through the loss of his father, through the nights when bills felt heavier than our hearts, and now he was telling me I wouldn't understand. Still, I let it go. Love makes you trust even when your gut whispers otherwise. But soon, I began noticing small changes around our home. The fridge wasn't as full as before. The electricity bill sat unpaid longer than usual. And Daniel, he grew quieter, secretive. His phone, once left carelessly on the kitchen counter, was now always in his pocket, locked. One night, while folding laundry, I found a crumpled receipt tucked in his jeans. A wire transfer for $1,200. My breath caught. That was almost half of his monthly salary. When he came home, I asked carefully, "Daniel, did you send Eva more money?" He froze. "Yes, she needed it. It's not a big deal. But that's Daniel, that's a lot. We're behind on rent." He frowned, his voice rising. "She's my sister, Maria. Family comes first. You wouldn't understand what she's been through." That sentence again. You wouldn't understand. I stayed quiet, but inside me something shifted. I had never met Eva. In all our years together, she never visited, not even during the holidays. She never called when Daniel was with me, always when he was out running errands. I didn't even know what she looked like, just a name attached to a drain on our finances and slowly on our marriage. I began to wonder what kind of woman could take so much from her brother without ever saying thank you, or showing up, or even sending a card. And yet Daniel defended her fiercely, as if I was the villain for asking questions. That night, lying in bed beside him, I stared at the ceiling while he slept soundly. My mind raced with unease, doubt, and a quiet, growing ache in my chest. Something wasn't right. I could feel it in my bones, and though I didn't know it yet, that uneasy feeling was the beginning of a truth that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my husband, his sister, and the kind of love that hides behind lies. It was a Saturday afternoon, bright but heavy with the kind of heat that makes everything feel slower. I had gone out alone to pick up a few things from the grocery store and decided to stop by a small cafe nearby. I needed the quiet, the space to think. Daniel had left early that morning, claiming he was going to help a friend from work move, but he didn't say which friend. Lately, his words carried more holes than truth. I sat by the window with a cup of coffee, trying to drown my frustration in its bitterness. That's when I heard laughter, loud, carefree, and sharp like the sound of someone who'd never known struggle. At the next table, 3 women were chatting, their designer handbags carelessly piled in the center. One of them, tall with honey, blonde hair and perfectly manicured nails, was speaking animatedly. "Oh, you wouldn't believe it," she laughed, "every month like clockwork. My stupid brother sends me money. He thinks I'm barely surviving." Her friends roared with laughter. I froze. My heart began to hammer against my chest. My mind screamed, "No, it can't be." But then she said it. "Daniel is such a softie. I tell him I can't afford rent, and he sends it right away. If only he knew about my new car." The air left my lungs. My coffee cup trembled in my hands. "Daniel, my Daniel." I looked at her carefully. She was dressed in an elegant silk blouse, diamond earrings catching the sunlight. Her makeup was flawless, her smile smug, and when she pulled her phone from her bag, I saw the name on the screen's wallpaper, Eva. My stomach twisted, so this was her. The poor, struggling sister my husband had sacrificed so much for, the one who made us skip dinners out, delay our bills, and fight over money. She wasn't struggling at all. She was thriving on our money. I couldn't move. I just sat there, my nails digging into my palms as I listened to her brag. He even asked me if I was eating well. She continued between giggles. Can you believe it? I told him I couldn't afford groceries last week. Meanwhile, I just bought that new Gucci bag. Her words burned. I wanted to stand up, to shout, to tell her she was cruel, but I didn't, not yet. Instead, I watched, memorizing every cruel smirk, every careless word. I needed proof, not just anger. When they finally left, I followed her quietly, my heart pounding. She walked to the parking lot and stopped beside a shiny black BMW, brand new. I watched as she slid into the driver's seat, adjusting her sunglasses before driving away. I stood there, motionless, the world around me blurred. How could Daniel not see this? How could he not want to see it? Tears welled up in my eyes as I drove home. My mind replayed every argument, every night I'd gone to bed worrying about bills while he sent money to his poor sister. That evening, when Daniel came home, I asked him, "Did you talk to Eva today?" He looked startled for a moment, then smiled. "Yeah. She's having a rough week, poor thing." A bitter laugh almost escaped me. Rough week, shopping, laughing, driving a luxury car. That was her version of struggle. I nodded quietly, pretending to believe him, but inside, something had changed. The woman he thought he was helping was not a victim. She was a manipulator, and the man I thought I knew was being played for a fool. That night, I sat awake again, the silence of the house pressing down on me, but this time I wasn't just hurt. I was determined. If Eva wanted to play games, I would join her, but on my terms, and when I was done. Neither she nor Daniel would ever forget who I really was. The next morning, I woke up with a new purpose. The pain from what I had seen hadn't faded. It had hardened. What once felt like heartbreak was now fuel. I had lived too long in the shadow of lies. It was time to bring them into the light. Daniel left early again for work, and as the sound of his car faded down the street, I sat at a kitchen table with my laptop. My hands trembled, but my heart was steady. I wasn't going to accuse him without proof. I needed facts, cold, undeniable facts. I started small. I logged into our online bank account, something Daniel never bothered to hide from me before. The transfers were all there. Same date each month, same recipient, Eva Sanders. But that wasn't all. There were additional transactions I had never noticed before, payments labeled medical fund, car repair, urgent loan. Each one was followed by the same note, for Eva. I clicked through the records, my stomach twisting tighter with every line. In just the past 6 months, Daniel had sent her over $8,000, money we could have used to fix the roof, to save for a vacation, to simply live without constant worry. Tears blurred my vision, but I kept scrolling. Then something caught my eye, a message in his email history. It was from Eva. "Danny, please, I really need your help again. I'm sick, and the hospital won't let me leave until I pay my bill. You're all I have left." There was even a blurry photo of what looked like a hospital bed. My chest ached. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her until I zoomed in. The Roman IV stand beside her bed had a logo on it. Royal Health Spa and Wellness Center. A spa, not a hospital. I couldn't believe it. She had staged the entire photo just to trick her own brother. I sat back, covering my mouth, a disbelieving laugh escaping me. The audacity was beyond cruel. It was evil. Over the next few days, I collected everything. Screenshots of her social media posts where she flaunted her new clothes, restaurant dinners, and weekend getaways. Copies of her messages. Photos from her Facebook where she checked in at luxury resorts. Days after, Daniel sent her money for rent. But what broke me the most was what I found next. Hidden deep in Daniel's phone messages were conversations between him and Eva. In them, she constantly belittled me. "You sure she isn't the one controlling your finances? She doesn't seem to care about your family, Danny. She's probably mad you're helping me." Typical selfish wife behavior. If she really loved you, she'd understand what family means. Each sentence was a knife twisting deeper. She was poisoning him against me, turning my husband's love into suspicion, and he had believed her. That night, Daniel came home humming, acting as if everything was normal. I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized I couldn't recognize the man standing in front of me anymore. He wasn't cruel. He was blinded by love and guilt, trapped by a sister who knew exactly how to manipulate his heart. I smiled gently, forcing calm into my voice. "Daniel," I said, "Eva's birthday is next week, right?" He nodded. "Yeah, she invited me, but she said you might not be comfortable." "Oh, I'll come," I replied smoothly. "It's time I finally meet her." He blinked, surprised. "Really? You'd do that, of course," I said with a soft smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Family comes first, right?" He grinned, pulling me into a hug. "Thank you, Maria. This will mean so much to her." But as I hugged him back, I stared into the distance over his shoulder, my mind already calculating. He didn't know that in my bag, I had a USB drive filled with screenshots, messages, and photos. He didn't know I'd already printed out copies and stored them safely. He didn't know that his sister's carefully woven web of lies was about to collapse, right on her own birthday, and when it did, she would have no one to blame but herself. The following Saturday arrived faster than I expected. The morning sun streamed through the curtains, but instead of warmth, it brought a chill that crawled up my spine. Today was Eva's birthday, the day her empire of lies would finally crumble. Daniel was in good spirits, humming as he buttoned his shirt. He had no idea what was coming. I watched him quietly, torn between sorrow and determination. He wasn't my enemy. He was a man blinded by guilt, wrapped around the fingers of a woman who knew exactly how to play him. "Are you ready?" he asked, smiling at me in the mirror. I nodded, more than ever. The drive to Eva's mansion, yes. Mansion was long and painfully silent. The irony of it all gnawed at me. She had told Daniel she lived in a small rented flat and barely made ends meet, yet the driveway of her rented flat was lined with luxury cars and guests dressed in designer clothes. When we stepped inside, laughter and music filled the air. A chandelier glittered above us like frozen tears. Eva spotted Daniel first, her face lighting up with fake sweetness. "Danny," she squealed, running to him and wrapping her arms around him. Then she turned to me with a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, you must